Oh, yeah! Thank you, Bad Mary, for that too sweet play-in. Welcome back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, Chapter 3, HQ, for all things comic book related. I am John Rivera, the CEO and co-founder of US Comics.
And that makes me your COO, your favorite chubby panda-like human. They call me Charlie. You can call me the COO. John, happy comic book day.
Charlie, happy comic book day to you, sir, and a happy comic book day to everyone watching and listening. And I'll tell you this, if you dig the episode at any point or are just into that comic book content, feel free to drop a like, follow, subscribe, or comment. That kind of rhymed. We accept all forms of tribute. Charlie,
That's just a fact.
what the hell's going on by you, kid?
You know, crushing depression. And I'm not sure if you... So everyone a little behind the scenes, John sees a tiny window of me at all time. So when that video's playing, that awesome introductory video, John sees what's going on. And what he just saw 10 seconds ago was me like this. Because I did not hear the audio, so I had to load it on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, because we're available on all three, to make sure that for whatever goddamn reason the computer decided, hey Charlie, fuck you. Life's not stressful enough.
Charlie had that glimmer, that glisten of panic sweat just popping on his forehead. I gotta tell you the truth, Charlie. It looks kind of healthy on you. I'm not hating it.
It is my main workout, just panic and anxiety.
You definitely panic burned a bunch of calories just there, but all's well that ends kind of not too terrible. I will say this, the same way that you were fumbling around on the undercarriage of your little bat cave there, that's how I was on my remote control, on my mouse, on my keyboard, because... What do they say? Murphy's Law. If something bad can happen, it's going to happen. Whoever this fucking
Factual.
Murphy is, I'm going to find him, and I'm going to beat the living bejesus out of that dum-dum. Because the truth is, when I have nothing on the agenda, when I'm feeling totally fine and healthy, when the calendar pages have dust on them because I'm not turning them over for any goddamn good reason... Nothing is going on. It's just fine. It's basically like I live in the National History Museum, right? But the second that you have something going on, the second that your schedule is chock full of goodness, you're like, yay! Today's gonna just fly. Yeah, that's when all the best shit that you want to experience is all happening at the same damn time. Because Charlie... Just on one hand, when I'm reading about the new Daredevil series that's coming to the Marvel pages, I'm like, oh, that's super great. I can't wait to get excited. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, yeah, by the way, also as well as Attack on Titan is wrapping up. So you better make sure that you're all caught up. Otherwise, you're going to get gobbled up and walls be damned. They don't give a shit about walls. You're like, oh, no, I got to do it. And then, just then... Your phone blows up. Actually, every fucking Apple device that you own all blows up at the same time because of woof is a real thing. Then they're like, hey, John, have you watched the new episode of Boba Fett? Have you seen the new book of Boba Fett? Have you watched it? Have you watched it? Have you watched it? No, I haven't watched it. I'm doing a million goddamn things. And just as I'm like, doing all that juggling, just like Charlie... reaching in the undercarriage over there. Then I'm like, you know what? How could things possibly get more chock full of nerdy goodness? I'm like, you know what, John? You gotta relax a little bit. You're like at a 12, and you need to be at a 7. Your doctor says so. You know, so you go over to the kitchen, you take a couple of deep breaths, you open up the cabinet, you're like, you know what? This is not really a coffee time. This is more of a tea time. So let me see what I got in the tea cabinet. We have blueberry. We've got raspberry. We have ginseng. We've got some sleepy time. There's some green tea with lemon. Oh, green tea with lemon and honey. Liver disaster, ginger with honey, ginger without honey, vanilla almond, white truffle, blueberry chamomile, vanilla walnut, that'll kill Charlie, and constant comment, don't forget the Earl Grey. And if even for a second, you recognized that tea-infused diatribe, look at Charlie's t-shirt, you're daggone right. Because that means that none other than Ramona Flowers herself is headed to a galaxy far, far away. But not a long time ago, right? Damn. Now, Charlie, drop some knowledge on him.
About how I became a man a third time watching Scott Pilgrim vs. the World 43
Charlie
times.
legitimately ordered from Amazon.ca just in the hopes that this rollerblading ninja girl would show up at his god dang door. Ramona Flowers, folks. Ramona Flowers coming to Star Wars.
There are times in life where for some reason people feel the need to like double or triple down, right? So there's just this theory I have where it's like, oh, you love The Mandalorian now. You love Star Wars. Hey, how about Danny Trejo showing up in the Book of Boba Fett? That's how I felt when they were like, hey, Charlie, are you definitely watching Ahsoka like the second it comes out? Are you going to be up at 3:01 in the morning East Coast time like a little nerd? Oh, Rosario Dawson, take me away with your two-bladed glory.
I know a governor who's going to come after you with that shit.
They feel the need to be like, if one big nostril isn't enough, how is one of your absolute favorite actresses?
You talking about Jabba? Because Jabba's nostril issue, I will not have you nostril shame Jabba the Hutt. Hasn't he been through enough? Naturally, Charlie is talking about Miss Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Again, most of you
say
nerds,
it again. Say it again, but slow.
You're going to have to watch the playback, Charlie. We need the views. She is indeed joining the Star Wars world, and specifically, she is joining the cast of Ahsoka. The best non-Jedi out there, quite frankly. And really, she should put a full snarl. She should put on like that ugly, mean face that Rocky Balboa had when he's throwing it to the body right and left. Because when they're like, oh yeah, Rey, she's the best female with a lightsaber. She was the full character arc. Yeah, maybe open up your eyes, listen to a couple of nerds like us, and realize that no, Rey was not the first lady to the party. Ahsoka was doing it since day one. Throw down with Vader. What will you? I'm so excited, dude. I'm so excited.
I mean, also, like, she's also one of those characters that made the quickest transition from worst character ever. Like, when she was introduced in the Clone Wars movie that went to theaters, they looked like wooden soldiers, but animated. That fucking character... I was every annoying Twitter asshole rolled
you're
into
pretty annoying.
one.
It's true.
Because that character fucking stunk, and the rehab job they did on her, real goddamn best.
She had a glow up, like she had 4 gentlemen show up at her door and take her to like the fanciest pants store out there. Like, they did a full Pretty Woman on her, but like the Star Wars version, like, oh, here's not 1 lightsaber, here's 2. Like, she had the best glow up. But again, this is about Mary Elizabeth Winstead, as Ellis himself says, MEW, mew. And Ellis asks, she's one of your favorite actresses? Gee, I don't know why. Pull up that IMDb, will you? She is the bomb.com. Forget about
She just
Scott
is fucking
Pilgrim.
awesome.
I mean, she is just. I mean, Birds of Prey, Jim, and I mean, I'm clearly just going down the list. Love, Death, and Robots. All About Nina, the Fargo TV series. So I'm like, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. And then I'm like, 2 seconds into it, best show freaking ever. What else? What else? Brain Dead, the TV series. 10 Cloverfield Lane. What else? Swiss Army Man, which is another one of those concepts. Would not have gotten out of the elevator if I was producer. Thank goodness for everybody that I was not, especially Harry Potter. What else? What else? Kill the Messenger. Even a Good Day to Die Hard, which is like one of those franchises that should have ended 6 or 7 movies ago. She was still the best performers are still great, even in doo-doo productions. That's Mew, as Ellis so affectionately referred to as, which I kind of like, and I'm going to be adopting. Thank you for that, Ellis.
And I love that he like threw it out like just to get to his point of clearly he seems unimpressed with her. But now Mew is going to take over. I'm going to add a Mew to this shirt tonight. What I love about her, especially
I have an idea.
In this part of her career, what I really love is she only works on projects that interest her. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it hasn't always been the case. You can see on that IMDb where her agent was like, this will be good for you. You should do this type of role. She talks about in interviews now how she was constantly putting herself into molds that didn't necessarily suit her, let alone...
She needed that black Christmas paycheck one way or the other.
Exactly right. But what I love about that is it just kind of proves that Star Wars, in its new legitimacy, can call to people her caliber.
I gotta go ahead and do one of these.
Where'd I lose you?
I love that, perhaps arguably granted, the most profitable movie franchise, if you factor in all the little variables, not just in the history of mankind, but very much possibly in the future of mankind as well. Charlie says, now that it's been legitimized by Charlie liking it. That was the only thing that was missing from the resume. I get it. Look, I respect that swagger, bro. Good for you.
See, now,
game recognized game, son.
Now, once again, Ellis from our Facebook watch party, he thinks he's throwing shade right now by saying, I looked her up in her best movie, Sky High. Sky High's fucking incredible.
Sky High is dynamite. Sidekick!
Sky High might be better than the new Spider-Man. I don't know. I haven't watched Sky High in a little bit.
Yeah, let's relax with that a little bit. But obviously, again, Charlie fell in love with her. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Sky High is fucking dynamite, and particularly if you're a 4-color funny book geek, like certainly us, everyone here watching and listening, without question. But like, truly, again, I'm gonna stick to my guns where a performer of any kind who can shine regardless of the source material around them, that's a performer that's worth their weight, so to speak. That's somebody that you can say, look, if they can be good in this piece of dog shit, imagine what they can do in something of value. And look, I realize that we're only about halfway through Book of Boba Fett, and there's somewhat mixed reviews, to put it kindly. Certainly Mandalorian has received nothing but rave reviews from anybody that has anything but intelligent things to say. I realize there's some dum-dums out there still. Can't do anything about that. But Charlie's right. The Star Wars content that's coming out of the house of Filoni and Favreau, I refuse to give anybody else any credit.
Me too.
What's coming from them when they dumped over their toy box is just the good. It's well thought out. There's little nuggies out there of fan service that you can gobble up if you're a huge fan like myself. If I can refer to, I'm like, oh my god, we were just talking about it off screen. Holy crap, there's a toy that was produced just for the toy line, was never on screen, and then you see it. 2 of them, as a matter of fact, in one damn scene. When you have a circumstance like Ahsoka herself, who was an animated, fabricated character. Truly, she's really like the Star Wars version of Harley Quinn, who originated in the damn cartoon. Actually, throw it back even before Harley Quinn. The Star Wars Christmas special gave us not just laughs, gave us Boba Fett. Right? Boba Fett, we saw Boba Fett animated before we ever saw him straight up chilling next to Bosk and IG Mother Sucker. So, look, there's the Star Wars in particular has a long, rich, storied history of, pulling people off the bench, as it were, and making them the star shortstop for the team. They're good at it, and I have no doubt that they're going to continue this trend with this type of casting, man. You put the best people up there. She's a maniac on the floor, ripping it up in Book of Boba Fett, still looking damn good, and she's like 107 years old. So Star Wars, in my book, in the book of John Rivera, CEO, can do no wrong. They are on one hell of a fucking streak right now.
Did your brain immediately go to like what Legends character or what character from the current canon is she playing? Because I know the moment I saw, and you hit me to it, you sent me the article.
Yeah.
And immediately I went like, oh, we just may have met her friend before her. Because if she plays Dr. Aphra, I'm gonna fucking have my head spin off my body.
Would that
like
be
character could have been drawn based on her?
Is that your number one ask? Basically, if I said, hey, we're casting this particular performer, who do you want her to portray? Like, character-wise, could you not wait to see that character, or is it just that like a one-for-one match?
See, it might that's super difficult because it's one of those
algebra.
things like the biggest get for me on the show is Mew being in it. That weighs more than any of the characters that she could perform. I'm
so
like,
she could be
whatever
a droid,
character,
and you'd be like, yay, Mew.
Fuck yes, I'd be like, oh, that's my favorite droid.
Sipping droid that hair color changes all the time. You're like, I don't know what the hair equivalent would be, but like some kind of color change all the time.
I'm all the way in. The one. So I was like positive that the Doctor would be in. And I was talking to one of my friends before the show, and their pitch I think I like even more than mine, which is Mara Jade. Like, how fucking dope.
I mean, that would be truly the.
I mean, it's ultimately far-fetched.
It's super far-fetched because you would have to change established canon so much so because
now,
for anyone who's unfamiliar, Mara Jade comes from what they refer to as the legacy. Kind of like arm of Star Wars. When the Star Wars movies, kids, if you're pull up the computer to the fire right now, or your phone, because I know everybody's watching the shit under their covers with the lights off. I get it. We're pretty sexy. But we used to have to wait years between Star Wars installments, and in order to satiate the geeks amongst us, they used to produce books. Now, books, for anyone who's unaffiliated, that's something that's made out of paper and ink. It's very often bound in a very sexy way, and you can decorate your little kid's office with them. But books would come out from the Star Wars universe, and we would have to really wonder, is this legitimate? Same thing with the comics. When you would see Star Wars comics that rolled out from Marvel and then elsewhere, you're like, is this legitimate? Because even when they portrayed stories that you had already seen, you're like, fucking Vader's not green. What are you talking about? Like, there were those little things. So I got a little off topic, but Mara Jade was somebody who was introduced to us in the books. She's hooking up with Luke. She was an assassin. She was working for the Emperor. Like, she is a fucking dope character, and she also had a what a twist moment. She ends up, clearly coming over to the right side of the conversation, and they have, spitting out kids, and it was all kinds of crazy. And I was particularly upset with what they ended up doing with the Han and Leia legacy stories as opposed to what we saw on the screen, because what we saw, I mean, a lot of it was heartbreaking. I don't want to spoil it because those are still widely available, but
and excellent.
And well, that's the thing, Charlie. They are. Again, our policy. We don't talk about, oh, this is good, oh, this is bad. There's what you liked, what you didn't like, what you loved, what you could fucking never see again. I loved the direction that they took the Han and Leia story in now the Legacy books, and just dramatic and very
You didn't love
like
divorce and sadness?
I mean, like you could fucking turn on Divorce Court, on Channel 2 if you want to see that stuff. Fucking emo kids. I have a brother. I understand. I get it. Like, I totally understand. That's not a new story for me. But that all being said, I loved what they did in the books. And Mara Jade is another one of those examples. That being said, I don't think she's going to be Mara Jade.
Is there anyone, do you even dare dream at this point? They keep throwing everyone amazing in these shows. Are you like Danny Trejo broke my mind? Everyone's possible now.
If they are, what do you mean? As far what are you
if
asking?
they like
who I want her to play or who I'm hoping to see?
I'll take either. But at this point,
which would you prefer?
Give me who do you think she's gonna play?
I honestly don't know, because at this point, with this is what I was gonna say, what they're doing and the direction that they're carrying this storytelling, she could likely play. She may as well be fucking playing like a figure that was included with a playset that you got from, like that was on fucking sale at KB Toys. It was off season. It was after Christmas. You're like, whatever. I had like one silver boot, one red boot, and you never thought about it again. And there all of a sudden, now here's this very, very talented performer portraying that character, and fucking that character ends up being like the centerpiece of the entire goddamn universe. So that's what they're doing right now. They are really, they have us on that razor's crest edge where we really don't know where that story's going. And if I may say, the one knock that I've heard bandied about on Book of Boba Fett that I can somewhat agree with, and this has a lot to do with my own personal hubris, I have no fucking idea where they're going. There's no established IP to where they need to end up. I have no idea what they're building towards. I can guess. I can know. I can tell you. Well, this is what I would do with what they've established, and that's a fun game. But as far I'm not going to Vegas or AC or now in New York. You can just do it on your phone. I'm not putting any money on it. I'll put it that way. Do you have a big ask?
Again, I mean, every time I think I do, someone like Muse shows up. So I'm just going to steal Ellis's from the chat. Antonio Banderas as Mando's dad. Zorro Deloro. He said something funny. Zorro Fett. I don't like Zorro Fett. The Zorolorian.
I got to tell the truth. I'm not sure who I'm more angry at this point. Ellis for floating out that nonsensical bullshit, or my own brother Charlie for not just repeating it, but mangling the delivery of said material. And one might argue that if I sat here and said, hey, Ellis, hey, Charlie, I love that joke, dynamite dropping, you guys are really bringing a lot to the table today, that would make me one thing and one thing only, and that would be a goddamn liar. Just like Ellis's favorite, but nobody else's, toy boy George Lucas. Because one thing and one thing only, Han shot first. Clink. All right. I remember my first shot too, Charlie. You'll get through it, buddy. Power through. Power.
I don't know that
through.
I will. Other than the amazing Star Wars TV getting me through life, and fucking Peacemaker on HBO Max. Seasonal depression's real. Regular depression's real. I battle all the time, and sometimes it feels like they are creators and whatnot that are just vying to keep me going. Because week to week, all the demons are kept at bay with being like, well, Book of Boba Fett's Wednesday, and then Peacemaker's Thursday, and then you have to catch up on AEW. There's so much amazing stuff out there that I hear about things weeks or months ago, And I go, that all sounds pretty goddamn amazing. But I do not have the bandwidth to process it. Such was the case for Moon Knight, which I'm just today processing the pendulum swing that may occur with Moon Knight. I think I've watched that trailer a dozen times.
Yeah.
Just trying to piece together. Now, for those who don't know, there he is. Moon Knight's been around for longer than I have. Werewolf by Night,
more popular.
It's true. Werewolf by Night is where he made his debut. He was a villain who turned into a hero who kind of has been reinvented through the years. I think the 10-cent and inherently pretty wrong explanation of Moon Knight is some people are like, he's Batman, but not Batman. When he's nothing like Batman. For one, he's kind of super powered up a little bit.
They both have capes. I mean, I guess they have that going for them.
But for the first time in a long time, and I don't know if it's just that the Marvel model has trained me to not look for something to be directly ripped out of the books, but it's taken out of the books lovingly and kind of reassembled with pieces of itself.
Oh, you mean the TV show?
Correct. Yeah, or their movies as well. But for the Moon Knight TV show, they're clearly changing things up. I mean,
sure. Just his costume itself automatically, like, now this is a character who, like, he changes costumes like fucking Cher at the Academy Awards.
It's like him and Wonder
Woman.
They're
Very dated reference. So shout out to all my oldies out there. Yeah, like his costume, he's known for changing his costume up. So that is not inherently is Ishmael in the house, what's up, sucker? So that is not unheard of for this particular character. But even as a devoted Moon Knight guy like myself, I have never seen this type of look for him, but I like it.
I absolutely dig it. It has elements of his most recent like superhero costume change. Like that center plate is very, very out of the black and white Moon Knight costume.
Yeah, the forehead, shot.
Yeah, there's obviously you can fucking tell it's Moon Knight, which is half the battle right there. Because a lot of times these costumes are kind of.
Is he wearing all white? Does he have a crescent moon on him? Can I just say, obviously, what started Charlie down this Moon Knight path was the trailer that dropped. Now, the particular day, the trailer, by the way, is fire. So if at this late date, if anyone here has not seen the trailer, watch it. Go watch it. It's fresh as hell. What's his face? I forget his name. His name escapes me right now. But the actor portraying Moon Knight is a great actor. Oscar Isaac, thank you. He's also acquired, literally, I saw a very funny meme saying that he's acquired like the franchise fucking Infinity Gauntlet. He's collecting franchises to put Thanos to shame at this point. But he's like a very accomplished actor himself. So this is like, again, what we were talking about before. When you have content that's worthy, scripting that's worthy, a story that's worth telling, it doesn't make a difference that it came from a comic or that it came from the mind of a no-chin-having George Lucas. It doesn't make a difference. If you have good content, good stories, you will get good people. This is another example of that. But the trailer, which is what I wanted to mention, and then I'll let you take the reins back, Charlie. It dropped during the playoff game.
Yes.
The playoff game, it was between... the hell game was it? It was it was wild card weekend because it just passed. Regardless, it played during the playoff game. They pushed it and but we were expecting it on a different day. They ended up pushing it the day that it debuted. It was 100% full moon illumination that day. I was like, little things like that.
That is the best corny shit ever.
Rubbing the nips, like it is just very gratifying when they reward nerdy behavior like mine with even more nerdiness.
Yeah, it's just
enabling. It's enabling.
It really is. It justifies this like weird love and special affinity. But what specifically about Moon Knight feels like it has the potential to truly, truly, truly shift the foundation of the Marvel, visual universe. Because again, it's more than cinema now because they're taking over the TV landscape. What I love about this trailer, because again, the Netflix Marvel shows were a different division. They are not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even pulling in Kingpin now and pulling in Matt Murdock, these are at best close variants. The actors have almost said as much, that these takes on the characters are...
Repeat that sentiment, that the
Netflix
shows,
TV...
Oh, the Netflix TV shows. I got
Correct.
You. Okay.
Yeah, the Netflix TV shows aren't attached. And what I loved about the Moon Knight trailer was it was unapologetic about what it was. Moon Knight, the character, and I don't know if this is going to happen in the show, and I doubt it will in the first season, but this is a character who once got his knees taken out and it looked like a bear ate him. Like, this is not a for kids character. This is a Marvel Knights character, and having him have a miniseries with this cast. I mean, again, it seems that the main villain is going to be portrayed by Ethan Hawke. It looks like he's also an amalgam of a bunch of characters from the comics. I think it's brilliant because this is the definition of a D-list character. Like, we're a year away. If this show is good,
that's way harsh, Marsha.
It's
D-list. Oof,
I mean, where have they ever embraced as a, I'm not even talking about a tentpole. You think right now,
I would call him a C-list character.
What did you consider Iron Man when his movie came out?
B. He was by the time it got to trailers, I was like, this is an elevation. This is an elevation. I'm like, what comes before A? Because that's where he's at. But when they're like, we're making an Iron Man movie,
he's Eternals level. Would you agree?
B.
Would you agree he's Eternals level? And Eternals were Moon Knight. As many people knew about the Eternals as Moon Knight.
I would say they're both I would put them both in that C category, a full C, so to speak.
So I will
Teddy
acquiesce, and I will say, sure, he's a C-list character. A year from now, this is my bold prediction. A year from now, we're going to see a lot of crescent moons on T-shirts, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't know shit about Mark Spector right now saying how Mark Spector's his goddamn favorite.
This is what the comic book nerd lives for. That moment
Absolutely.
Where some tiny bit, the actually of it all, as we'll refer to it now. Carolyn, we're going to get you on here. That's what you live for. You acquire tidbits of little detail and information, and you hoard them like gold under the goddamn mountain with your dragon leathery wings until the day when Mark Spector raises up and is like the most popular thing since sliced bread, and you go back, actually, did you know? Like, that is the best payoff. That's really the only payoff, quite frankly, unless you have a podcast and you start jibber-jabbering like us morons. It's the fucking best. It is the best. I also hope that they take the opportunity to change up the look during the course of the run, because that is an integral part of the character also. He's out there, man. I don't want to use any terminology that's going to get me in trouble with the PC police. He is out there. He is not operating on the same mental level as everybody else.
One thing that's awesome about Mark Spector is he is very specifically, at best, in best mental health, he's 4 people in one body. And what the show seems to be leaning on is something that the comics delve into in a fantastic run, but where they're like, well, it's multiple personality disorder. Just camera 1? No, it's not. Them motherfuckers all really different. Fucking definitely a spoiler. Probably for season 3. But like you said,
that's like saying that Constantine dealt with a bunch of people with multiple personality disorder. They have horns and wings, though, and hooves. Is that usually normal? Nah, don't worry about it. It says it right here in my textbook.
What I love about Moon Knight is the character and brutality are one and the same. More so than even Punisher. Because if you water down Moon Knight, he's kind of Batman. That's the 10-cent version. But the
Barely.
real
9
the
cents.
character the character of Moon Knight, though, that brutality is built in. And in the comment section, Teddy throwing out Cloak and Dagger, who are two characters I absolutely love. Those characters aren't inherently brutal, right? So
No.
Moon Knight is
Hard to
introducing
be
this
brutal
level.
when you're in love.
That's true. The Moon Knight is going to add a level of violence to the MCU that hasn't been there before.
Since Daredevil came off of Netflix, quite frankly.
And Daredevil didn't count. Daredevil was always this other.
Yeah.
Right? There's not going to be what Marvel seemingly looks to be doing right now is they're crafting within the MCU hey, look, it's fucking Thor and he got jokes. How great is that? Don't look over there. Because over there is going to be fucking Blade and Moon Knight and Black Knight. And they have this place now to tell these stories, and they don't have to worry about selling toys. And that is incredible. And they will sell toys.
They're still
not
going to
dumb.
do that, man. Like, you got to understand, Charlie. I understand you're still a relative young buck in the game, but they made cartoons and toys out of Rambo.
Well, to be fair,
people in the face with
See,
a bow
this
and
is-
arrow on purpose.
This is the problem, though, because we occasionally get accused of being shills, and never has your corporate sponsorship been more transparent than you wearing the RoboCop line of clothing from Prada for today's episode. So you doing this subconscious bullshit where you're like, they can merchandise and it's a great idea. Don't do drugs, kids. Like, we see through you,
Nancy
sir.
says so.
We see through
Look.
it. But you know what this feels like
Just
to me?
because
It feels
your comic book and cartoon heroes just sat around in sewers, eating pizza, talking about surfing. You're not surfing, you fucking turtles. What's wrong with you? Your knockoffs are far better at surfing than you. I will take a Battletoad any day of the daggone week.
Dare I say,
you're
the
not
Ninja
entirely
Turtles, the worst aquatic
Dead or
animals
alive, you're
of-
coming with me, creep.
Because I feel like the Street Sharks would also outsurf, not
Sharks.
only the Ninja Turtles,
Yeah,
but
Street Sharks would be tough. The Street Sharks roll up the ride, and they bite you, and their eyes roll back, and dead like a doll's eyes. And then the screaming. Oh, Michelangelo's screaming. Oh, God. That's a crossover that needs to happen right now.
I think the natural fear is one Teddy brought up in the chat, is that how much does Disney water it down? And my answer to that is that trailer's brutal.
Doesn't look like
Like,
any.
whatever the hell he's beating the shit out of in that bathroom.
Is not,
That thing's not doing okay.
Whatever you're hitting, that thing's not coming up. And Cousin Paul threw out right away too, like that he was not that he didn't particularly care for Moon Knight in the comics, but he has high hopes for the miniseries just based on the trailer. I would give a little addendum to that, Paul. I would also say the pedigree that Marvel is bringing to the table with everything else that they've done, because I'll be the first one to say it. First and first, mostly, I hate being wrong. Frankly, there's only one thing I hate more than being wrong, and that's admitting that I was wrong. It's frankly the hardest part of my day.
Makes sense.
It's truth time, right? But Marvel has a very established track record at this point of taking a character that I could give two shits about. Like, one, a good shit, a good morning shit where you're like, what does my day look like today? And one, the angry, dejected, today sucks shit at the end of the day. I will give those two shits about some of these characters, but Marvel's like, get off the bull, buddy. Wipe it down, light a candle, because you will give two shits about these characters now. They've just become very, very good at it. And it's not just because so much of their storytelling is interlaced. Some of it is. Granted, some of it is. Like, you can't really miss anything at this point. A character might come up with a flick or with a series, you're like, I'm good. But then you're not good, because you are going to be missing a chunk of the storytelling that's going to carry you over to whatever the hell is next. So, I'm sorry, you have to care at least enough to get to that point, to get from point A to point Z. But I'm telling you, you're gonna like it. Marvel is just they're batting 1,000. They really are.
I mean, Hawkeye, Hawkeye was elevated this year. Not only Kate Bishop, who begs to be called like the agenda-driven Kate Bishop, like the articles were pre-written, and that show was so good. I didn't catch one person, and that character truly is like, oh, she's a little bit better at everything than her counterparts. But that story was so well built and so true to its source material and so lovingly crafted. Moon Knight, for me, for someone who I never worshipped at the Marvel altar more than Marvel Knights. Like the fact that it was like, no, but these aren't for kids. And the books like them. And Moon Knight, even when it wasn't under that banner, was very clearly the like, kid, you want the good shit? Here's Moon Knight. Here's Punisher.
Come around
here's
the back.
Daredevil.
Take $20 out of your mom's bag and meet me behind the back.
And I think what's going to happen that's going to be really goddamn interesting is like also this is a whole different genre of magic exists in the Moon Knight comics. And so far, and again, it's hard to base it off the trailer, but that's why I like talking about it on Front Street before we dive into the show, because it's that anticipation that's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. The Marvel magic tends to be color coded. This is this seems very, very different. But ultimately, what it got me thinking about is at this point, my well is truly running very dry of characters I'm dying to see get the live action treatment. Like I'm already eating my own tail because I'm like, all right, reintroduce Daredevil proper now. Like I want to see what's the new suit like. I got the new souped up Kingpin. Can't wait till he's back. Oh shit, Punisher's waiting in the wings. How are we gonna bring back Punisher? Is it gonna be weird samurai terrible logo Punisher ripped out of the comic books now? Oh, we're gonna get a new Elektra. Like I have Bullseye. My waiting for Blade. I have my decade of fun laying in front of me from Marvel.
Nice.
Right? For some people like Teddy name dropped Kraven the Hunter. For Teddy, that might be like in the what can the Spider-Man movies do? Kraven's there kind of waiting. My question to you, John, is I'll start with the easiest one right now. In the Marvel Cinematic, who's your guy? If the Marvel Cinematic Universe was a fighting game, who's your go-to? You know I'm always going to throw Matt Murdock on my shoulder, and I'm going to show him the way anywhere I can, because Daredevil, that character is my number one Marvel character, not by an inch, by a mile, but that mile away, Elektra, Moon Knight. I have these badass characters promised to me. Who right now is your number one?
You know, it's tough. First, mostly I do got to throw out there, yo, Joker Stream coming to us from Twitch. It is tough because, like you said, they've given us so much already, and given us, quite frankly, stuff that was not expected and has just like hit in the clutch, hit it out of the park. I'll also say that I have not just one version but two versions of Daredevil in my Marvel fighting game, because I'm unlocking stuff like a champ. So Daredevil is also one of my highest power guys. So he's also one of my go-tos, but legitimately. At this point, considering a few things, I'm anxiously awaiting Namor, but I'm pretty sure that's about to happen. I will say this, and by the way, it was the Cards-Rams game. The Cards-Rams playoff game, that's when the moon was at 100% illumination, and we also got the trailer, like, literally the most appropriate time to get it. But no, I'm going to throw out there, and please, stay with me if you guys are unfamiliar, White Tiger.
Ooh.
And this might be coming
White
from
Tiger hasn't debuted yet.
No, that's what I'm saying. That was your question, right? Who you're
No, my question
for?
was who is your current number one that's out
that
there?
wasn't the question we talked about.
Well, I was going to segue into this, so I don't care now. Let's just talk about White Tiger.
Well, no, that's a legitimate question. I mean, that's already out there.
Yeah.
So in other words, Daredevil is the character that's already out there that you are.
Well, I'm cheating because he just popped up in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be Groot was the number one. Then Matt showed up, and I was like, "Get out of my face, Groot!"
So you're happiest about Groot being there?
Yeah, like
because-
when he popped up in What If, I was like, "Yeah!"
I see.
And now I have waiting in the wings my NC-17 Daredevil. So I'm going from like, I really like this to like, ooh, baby, I can't wait. Because what I feel like, and let me preface it with this, because I know the second half of your answer, I feel like Marvel's now opening up their universe to a point where it's like the transition from Superman to Batman the Animated Series. Like, I fucking loved Super Friends. But that, like, by comparison to me loving Batman the Animated Series, Super Friends ain't shit.
Yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, to get back to the revised version, the character that's been given to us, even though like barely, like truly just heavy petting over the clothes, you barely have a foot off first base because you're not exactly sure if the left fielder is gonna get the pop up and you can go to second. Black Knight, and you very quickly reference him, so we got just the tip,
just the
Black
tip
Knight.
of that sword.
We got his alter ego in essence, and we know that he was giving it good to Cersei, so good on him for that. But Jon Snow, he's bringing us the character. Obviously, we're gonna see more of him in the upcoming Blade. The Ebony Blade has already been kind of established as what's laying in the.
I think his name
case.
is just Blade. You don't have to specify that he's Ebony.
How dare you? Charlie has just been canceled. So anyone currently in chat, please feel free to message me with all your credentials. The good news is you don't really need many credentials to replace either one of us. But no, I particularly am a big fan of Black Knight. I love what he can do, what he can contribute to the current Marvel storytelling, and I'm also just a sucker for any like sword swinging action, bro. Like I'm all about it. Bring it on.
Well, what I love about that was that right now your number one seed is one that you're going to get, like the same way that I now have Moon Knight showing up. It's you literally haven't even gotten to see the costume yet. So talking now about the one you're most excited to see in White Tiger, another character I fucking love. Do you have a specific iteration of White Tiger? Are you going the more modern female White Tiger?
This is what I was gonna say. I think that a character like White Tiger would be successful on so many levels right now. And the reference that I used was the John Leguizamo of it all. This was my prepared statements for Congress. There is a very much an active push right now of representation, of inclusion, of varied storytelling. So again, anyone who's unfamiliar with White Tiger, which I realize that very well might be a big majority, White Tiger, George Perez creation, with 50/50. I forget the other creator, but this is a character. Oh, good catch by me.
Hey-o.
A magical amulet bestows.
Oh, we lost you. We lost your audio, so I'm going to pull up a little bit. Oh,
okay.
He's back.
Hey, relax a little. So yeah,
I just can't wait for you
I
not
know.
to be on the show.
He's like, oh, we lost.
Let me
Sorry,
take him out
guys.
of frame.
That's it. Charlie's like, take my T-shirt off. Woo! So, anyways, the magical amulet is what gives White Tiger the abilities that the White Tiger has. Also a New York-based hero, so especially if you're doing more of like the lower level, non-Avengers level action, this is very much a character. But it's a Latina, depending on the version currently, character, which quite frankly in the Marvel universe is kind of lacking. Also, as well as I would love to put it out there, you know that I am not at all a fan of like, oh, here's the male version, here's the female version, here's a sidekick version, here's a pet version. Like, can you fucking stop it? I can appreciate a mantle more than maybe, and nobody else more than Santa Claus. But I'll say this: if you introduced it with an established version like the uncle, have him die, whether you want to do it like the wrongfully accused, fucking die in prison. Like, there's so many interesting versions that you can tell, and then have the niece pick up the mantle and run with it. Ooh, skin tight, tiger shaped Latina running around screen. I don't care if it's a big screen or small. I am there for it. Now you know why I couldn't wait to get to that answer.
I mean, you can't.
It would be dynamite. It would just be dynamite.
You absolutely can't go wrong, in my opinion, with White Tiger. And I especially love this idea of you introduce her first with the background of, like, White Tiger was this character, and the cool thing
you
about
have his
this level,
historical runnings. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this
that would be the foundation of your first episode or your first installment, whatever the case might be. Then you could let her run.
You know, and what I love about it, I really do love this comment too. Ellis throwing out
Ellis.
there, my nightmare. If we sold the comic to Disney, you have to specifically watch one of the video versions to see the funny thing Ellis said, because I have it up on the screen. And I'm going to break my own rules. I'm not going to read it to you, podcast audience.
Wow, Charlie.
Still leave a review though. But what my point is this, my friend. The building a story like that for any of these street level heroes is a lot more interesting to me, right? Because I can buy why Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Thor are not showing up for a gang shooting. Like, they got to worry about Galactus
Spider-Man
and
might.
shit.
Spider-Man.
They got maybe Spider-Man. They got to worry about, like, space shit, right? It's that notion of, well, but like the world actually also kind of sucks with some things, and sometimes people need their ass fucking kicked. What I love about White Tiger is, again, Marvel still does struggle with, like, very important female characters. We now have the new Hawkeye, ironically a mantle toss, in Kate Bishop. Teddy thrown out. You know, Luke Cage is waiting in the wings.
Luke Cage has a very important anniversary coming up. I don't know how they don't bring him, take him out from under the covers pretty soon.
I mean, it seems like a waste. But my final question to you, to wrap it up.
Actually, Carolyn, Squirrel Girl absolutely does need to be brought back immediately. Carolyn, who I fully blame for all of my YouTube viewing, watching. Anyone who have not introduced Carolyn to, as of yet, very, very good friend of mine and to the show, introduced us to Actually, and we will be lovingly ripping off Actually with a USComics version episode coming up, in which Carolyn will be, I'm sure, the winning contestant.
I love this plan.
Squirrel Girl will be dynamite.
Just two quick facts. John hates mantle tosses so much. However, John is the boy Squirrel Girl. He's Squirrel Girl man. Because my brother has truly trained squirrels to come, and I'm not saying I didn't help. I'm not saying I didn't buy, like, a table for the squirrels, but nonetheless,
table for the squirrels.
Squirrel Girl boy John Rivera will be your introduction next week. John, my segment is out of time, so I don't want you to elaborate. I just want the very, very simple and factual answer, and I want you to say it aggressively, and I want you to say it with your soul. White Tiger, the series, or White Tiger, a major motion picture?
I've been fully converted at this point. I want the series.
It's a future topic, definitely, but spoiler alert, like, fuck movies. I don't need them anymore. You give me shit in 8-hour increments, or you don't give me nothing. With that being said, the best part about 8-hour increments is you can fill that time with awesome activities. John!
Yeah.
I bet we got a couple more activities other than this show for them. Why don't you tell these beautiful people one of our sponsors today?
I can tell you the sponsors, Charlie, but first you'd have to ask a question, and that is, where we dropping? It's with Sergeant Finesse. Find him gaming on both Twitch and Facebook. Multiple streams every day. Outstanding gaming content. Supporter games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today. If you need a pick-me-up, though, And boy, do I need one today. Follow the White Rabbit over to sneakenergy.com. Use code SGT at checkout. So good. Looking for some fresh new merch, like maybe RoboCop's undershirt? Go over to Geeks Unleashed or Charlie's Ramona Flowers custom job. Go over to geeksunleashed.com. Use code SARGE, Sarge, at checkout there. When the Sarge is on deck, you salute. GG's son.
I like your style, and I love that sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get to my sponsor, if you want a shirt just like this, it is completely handmade by me. It is my Ramona Flowers special. I will make one. I will make one for the first person to private message us and give me $35. And I'll make it, and I'll mail it anywhere in the world. If we have no takers, I'll feel bad. So one of you do it. John, when I make these custom shirts for myself because I get bored or frustrated, my favorite thing to do is to put on a little bit of music. I love that our producer is going to take it, and I will charge them. My absolute favorite thing to do is to kick back and listen to some tunage. And the way I do it, personally, is I rock out to that Bad Mary. You can find Bad Mary. They play our intro song. You'll hear a song at the end. You can find them anywhere on social media over at Bad Mary Band. Their entire discography is available right now wherever you can stream music. And you can go to badmary.com to buy some merch and support them. You can also just throw piles of money at them over at patreon.com/Bad Mary. My dear brother.
Word.
What, tell me the things that occupy your mind this week.
Charlie, I tried to stay on the lighter side of life. Unfortunately, Teddy coming to the house looking for that T-shizzy.
He's going to get a 101.
Yeah, Teddy. Don't worry about putting it under glass and like saving it for the resale value. Just wear that shit. But sometimes life, I'm sure you'd agree, and everyone watching and listening would probably as well. Sometimes life has other plans for your day, right? They say if you really want to make God laugh, tell him or her your plans. I like to think it is indeed Alanis Morissette up there, because just that gentle Canadian pop star vibe is really what I want to get to have waiting for me at the pearly gates. But that's a whole different conversation. Again, I want to be just in the glow of life. Only good news, let it come my way. Unfortunately, I have a computer. And sometimes when those two forces collide, you end up with a tsunami of bull sugar. And that's what I found waiting for me this morning on my clicking. A much-loved duo of IP is lost to one of my absolute favorite publishers, IDW Publishing, who Charlie gives money to hand over fist on
I really do love IDW
basis. They have and are losing at the end of this year the rights to not just the Transformers, robots in disguise, but also as well as, damn straight, G.I. Jizzo and Cobra.
Cold-blooded.
What the actual hell? Now, Mattel is one of those ownership houses that tends to lump things together. Transformers and G.I. Joe were never in the same game. Coming up as an 80s kid, you played with your Transformers separate. If anyone made a guest appearance in your Transformer playing, it was maybe your Matchbox cars. And even then, you had to have the Matchbox and the Hot Wheels. You had to have them off in the distance. And like even as a little nerdy kid, I would be playing forced perspective, and I'd have like Starscream flying through the sky, and maybe there'd be a Pontiac GTO down on the ground on the carpet that looked a little bit like a road. Mom can tell you about that one. The area rug looked like a road. It was awesome. And I'd have the little Matchbox down there. And yeah, if you put them together, they didn't quite match up. But forced perspective And I was a little cameraman even back then. But never G.I. Joe, Charlie. You didn't play G.I. Joes when the Transformers were out of the toy box. But even as a little kid, shocking to everyone, I know, even as a little kid, sometimes I was wrong. And it was actually Marvel that did it first. Marvel really, they had the both properties in their comic book lives, and Marvel is who mashed them together for the first time. So my little mind blew up. I'm like, oh, Optimus and Duke at the same time? Outstanding. That's right. Gem is also in the same universe. But that all being said, IDW is like, yeah, we're with John. Our toy box looks like this. We're gonna play with these things together, and that story is damn over, man. IDW.
That famous
is
image.
losing, it's Hasbro's properties. I don't know what I said before. Mattel. I meant Hasbro. At the end of 22, done. Done.
There's an image. I think it was from the Marvel comics of Cobra Commander holding Megatron in gun form. That's so burnt into my brain. Like Clark Kent pulling open his shirt to reveal the Superman S. Batman on a gargoyle for some goddamn reason. Those are as ingrained in my head as fucking Cobra Commander being like, I'm gonna shoot you with the leader of the Decepticons, bitch.
Robot.
Are you aware how emasculating that would be for Duke? What is Duke gonna do? Drive up in fucking Optimus? That's weird.
Hasn't Duke suffered enough? They killed Duke. They dropped him like a bad habit in the damn G.I. Joe movie. Are you really going to play him dirty like that? Shoot him with Megatron? And I'm not talking about the wide receiver. It's very... actually, this is probably a whole different episode or segment. What we know as the Decepticons and the Autobots were two entirely different toy lines of changing... inanimate objects into robots, and when our American buyers were like, yeah, we'll buy all those fucking robot things, we'll make something out of them. So yeah, of course you had a truck and you also had a gun. It was like a regular gun, and it looked like a gun. The Japanese version, it was just dynamite. But that all being said, it was just outstanding to see. And really, like, isn't that the job of good storytellers?
Fuck
is to
yes.
go ahead and say, hey, I have something now that you in your little pea brain never would have come up with. We are better at playing with your toys than you.
What I love about it is it allowed for things like our boy Joker's stream over on Twitch. Like Cobra Commander was the man behind Megatron becoming a tank in the comic books. These cross-pollinating of the cross-pollination of these worlds in the respectable hands of comic books, right? Because that's
writers in particular.
That you let nerds be nerds. You get what's going on with Filoni and Favreau in Star Wars. When people love it, it's not the same as when these licenses, specifically Transformers, like you were saying, these were just toys. They had their own,
they didn't
worlds.
Even match.
No one even cared. They were like, jam together, write up something. We're businessmen. Because if I could time travel, like, I'd be the best businessman back then. Because I'm like, we could just jam shit together. I would have Gem in that comic book if they let me. They'd be like playing this fucking theme for their Gem bot.
Gem has an open invitation to go anywhere she wants to go in any of my properties. I'll put that out right now. Someone wants to rock the eye, like, you're not even Dazzler, and look at your eye, man. Like, Gem, you're good. You're good to go. Don't worry about it. She was doing the Hannah Montana before even Hannah thought of it.
There is one beautiful thing in this tragedy, and that's last time IDW lost a beloved 80s franchise. IDW, the part of the reason I had such a renaissance with IDW books was they did the most work with the Ghostbuster license. And they lost that license like halfway through 2021.
Yeah.
And it just, they clearly were operating under the assumption that they were going to renew, because that story didn't fucking end.
Well, but
it wasn't quite as bad as a cliffhanger, but it was close.
That's only the way that you really can do it. Now, it's been established when the story dropped. That's what I was looking for. I'm like, okay, well, that means it's expiring, but there's still. It's almost like a player strike. You're like, well, it's not even pitchers and catchers yet. They'll work it out. They'll work it out, and until they actively come to the table and say, nope, we're canceling the spring training is canceled. Now things start to get real. Thank God that that's not where we're at with the current player strike in baseball. But with IDW, that's the feeling that we're getting. It's that, yep, we are losing these properties at the end of 22. 17 years they've had Transformers at this point, and maybe like 14, 15 years they've had G.I. Joe. Now, what's really interesting, and I had mentioned it prior, that these properties both came over priorly from the stewardship of Marvel Comics. Now, Marvel Comics has done some amazing stuff with both of those properties. Matter of fact, I had mentioned it here at some point, at one point or another. My absolute favorite G.I. Joe story, bar none, is not from the cartoon, not from backyard games that we played at Aunt Irma and Uncle Hector's house. It came from one of the Marvel comics, and it was a straight up training of prospective G.I. Joe members, and it was basically you got a fly on the walls perspective of what a prospective G.I. Joe member has to go through. You want to talk to me about Navy SEALs? Psst, that's a day in the park compared to what these wannabe G.I. Joes had to go through. And then, because it's still a comic book, certain things happen and they were pushed into service, and at the end of the day, happy ending for all involved. But that was the type of storytelling. Now, IDW, just like yours truly, could appreciate a good thing. So they said, you know what? We'll gladly take stewardship over the property, but also as well as we like what Marvel had been doing. So they said, you know what? We are going to pick up the storytelling from where Marvel left off. How much of a love letter can you write to the fans of a property by saying, hey, you used to go across the street for that good that you love so much. Now we got it, but don't you worry your pretty little head about it. We are going to continue that storytelling. That is something that is so lacking in business today of any kind. That is like an appreciation for your end user, for the fan. That's telling me, look, this is being made by other fans, and that's something that you can really appreciate. Those are the type of companies and perspectives that deserve your money. I'm really sincerely very sad that they're leaving IDW.
Well, it's heartbreaking because again, the model I keep thinking about is Ghostbusters. And don't get me wrong, I would have read that comic forever, even with Afterlife kind of ruining it being canonical from arguably the movies, but it was more canon to the cartoon.
Yeah, for sure. I would
Them
say that.
disrupting that was fine by me because I think in IDW I trust. IDW truly is that comic book company for me right now that 9 out of 10 they hit home runs every time.
Yeah.
Because they are clearly no one seems to be assigned
entertaining. It's just
projects.
Entertaining stuff. And
it's
not,
just cheesy enough.
Well, the thing is too, Charlie,
to hug you.
It's like people talk about fan service as if it's a communicable disease. Oh, that's fan service, like equating to like saying that's trash or there's no value in that because it's not completely reinventing the wheel. But not every wheel needs to be reinvented. Sometimes some wheels roll along just fine, and literally again, for 17 years and for 14 years respectfully, their property wheels have just been rolling along just fine. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting to me what they're gonna do now, because IDW still owns Dungeons and Dragons, which is a huge property, and one might argue just as big a property, My Little Pony. So they're still running with it. And also, you had mentioned like the hangover effect, the cliffhanger effect, rather, where like it just fucking stops. Now IDW is like they're calling the shots, saying, look, at the end of 22, we are losing these properties for whatever the reason. I'm sure there's a story, but we don't know it. At the end of 22, we are losing these properties. We wish everybody the very best of luck. That being said, we are wrapping up our stories for that ending.
How amazing would it be?
Cliffhanger situation for either one.
How amazing would it be, though, if that shit ends with, like, Duke decapitating Cobra Commander? Be like, and America won! Fuck you!
We don't negotiate with terrorists. Bang, bang! Like,
and then it turns out he cuts his other cheek. Like, that first cut was his, too. Like, oh, shit, Duke crazy.
He put that first cut on his cheek like the way they tattoo tears on, like, prisoners. Like, I killed a man. Like, you got a monsoon on your face. How many people did you kill? Holy shit.
I mean, that truly is the one beautiful thing out of this tragedy. Because, again, Ghostbusters left me with the bluest of ectoplasm. Just because, again, in the comment, too, Ellis asked if there was a crossover. Of course, IDW did a Transformer Ghostbuster comic. The Ecto One.
They did a Beast Wars crossover. Like, they don't fuck around.
It's goddamn awesome. Starscream was a ghost of Starscream, and the Ghostbusters and Ectotron busted that motherfucker.
I would imagine that...
They're right here. You can see Ectotron looking like a G.
Ghost voice sounds just like his normal voice. Oh, man. Woof! Little fun fact. The Transformers toys, they used to come, in essence, they kind of wrote the blueprint for that, like, 10 power, 6 intelligence, 4 dexterity for fucking toys. And you had to use a little red translator screen, a red piece of plastic. Joker stream, have a good stream, brother. You had to, like, it was a secret. Like,
decoded that shit.
You had to decode some
stuff.
No
Ovaltine.
You didn't
just
need
facts.
any Ovaltine. So the interesting part was you had 3 Transformers, which were, for all intents and purposes, identical. They were all F-14 Tomcats. They just had different color schemes. And the difference, though, in addition to the color differences, their stats were wildly different. So you had one, and their exact names escape me because I was not as big at Transformers as I was a G.I. Joe fan. If you want to talk about Gung Ho, we can go all day. Aragashi Clan, you got it. But for the 3 fighter jets, you had one which is like very strong but like dumb as dirt, one that was very, very smart but weak as shit, and one that was like pretty damn good at everything. So if you had to have a crew of just the 3 fighters, you know that this was gonna be the leader of the 3. Now, with all the storytelling pushing him towards the front, even really making a push for leadership of the Decepticons proper, one would say, oh, well, that boss, so to speak, of the fighters in particular, sure, had to be Starscream, right? Nope. Starscream sucked. He was the fucking worst of the fighter jets, and it's been hypothesized by true geeks that would even embarrass our level, and we're surrounded by toys.
Yes.
Was that when they submitted for the designs for the packaging, they got mixed up. So Starscream's stats were not intended to be Starscream stats. Starscream was always supposed to be the best of the fighter jets, so much so that he could push Megatron for potential leadership, or at least do some conniving shit. And he ended up being like the bitch of the 3 if you really looked at the stats. So
that's
you would watch
awesome.
The cartoon and be like, I'm Starscream, and then you like look at the toys like, you could be Starscream. He's a bitch.
Although low key, that's brilliant. Starscream's the like dork on the basketball court, just talking so much shit, and then he gets on the court and immediately sprains his leg.
Man,
just instantly. Starscream sucked. Again, IDW was true. Like again, there's a lot of idioms I'm gonna steal. Again, it was like the House of Imagination almost, in as much as they took these properties that so much of us loved and elevated them. Because Transformers, those cartoons are awesome under the lens of the 80s.
Of your being
you watch them now and you're like, This
Oh,
isn't
sure,
great.
sure.
This isn't.
Rodimus Prime, you got to be kidding me. I was mad about it then, and I'm still mad about it now. Now, I will say this, Charlie. Into every life, a little rain must fall. We know this, right? We're adults here, regardless of the amount of toys that we're surrounded with. But also, as well as the sun must come out tomorrow. A little curly-headed, red-headed girl told me that once, and she was right. Because as sad as I was that IDW was losing these wonderful properties, someone had to gain them, right? They're certainly not going to flounder around, flop around on the bottom of the boat with the water swishing back and stinking up to high heaven. No, someone's got to get them, and word on the street is they are going to be snatched up by none other than zombie-loving Robert Kirkman.
I hope he reverse engineers it so that it was like an all-spark made zombies. Like if you just go weird.
The sad part is that I know the editor of the USComics cast, and I can request specifically, like, can you edit this real dumb shit that Charlie said? But it's Charlie's also the editor, so he's not going to edit that out. No.
And I think I'm the best.
He's like, I'm going to turn up my volume and talk right the fuck over you. So his Skybound Entertainment, which is an imprint of Image Comics, which again we are huge fans of here, they've already collaborated with Devil's Due, who was another publisher, on the G.I. Joe Transformers comics in the early 2000s. This was prior to IDW kind of swinging the mighty Schwartz. So, happy days are here again, I guess. Like, today was very much an up and down day for me. Red eye, had to take my contacts out. Oh, one day that I don't have to drive all over God's creation, but like work beat the hell out of me. This was one of the days. I'm like, oh no, IDW is losing Transformers and G.I. Joe. Oh, but Robert Kirkman might pick them up. So I today basically gave me whiplash, and this episode hasn't helped.
That's the best. That's the best way to be. If there must be bad,
yeah,
let it be followed by Robert Kirkman being interested in doing it. Like if Robert Kirkman came in and was like, John, I'm going to handle your Thursday. Your Thursday, great. I'm directing.
I would tell him,
you might have to fight some zombies.
Feel free to feed it to zombies because, frankly, I ain't doing shit with it anyway. Like that would probably be the best use for it. Some protein for the zombies. Got a long day.
If zombies showed up and fucking prevented me from seeing you in Man of La Mancha, the whooping those zombies would get. They'd have to restart Walking Dead for just a fat Puerto Rican killing all them zombies.
A lot of zombies have bought tickets already, and they're just going to be sitting there, not like, and I'm just talking about your mom.
This is a very, very specific joke, so I apologize to the listeners. The Red Hats aren't that old, John.
Woof. How did Charlie get canceled by a group of 80-year-old theater goers? I have no idea. But let me ask you, Charlie. So I put out there my favorite, kind of like other, rather than the comics stories that are out there. A lot of people would say like, oh, I love the Storm Shadow Snake Eyes. Stop it already. Everyone knows Storm Shadow's far superior to Snake Eyes. Damn Johnny come lately, get out of here. There's a reason why you mute, because you don't have anything good to say ever. Zip it up, buddy. But I gotta ask you, is there like a favorite IDW era story for either G.I. Joe or Transformers? Something that really kind of stuck to your ribs?
I think it was just the thing about IDW's G.I. Joe run, specifically G.I. Joe, they were really I was heavy into reading them during the New 52. So there was a lot of like
I gotta read something because New 52 is so bad.
It was a palate cleanser.
Something.
It was this safety net, and that truly grew because when I started heavily collecting comics again, I was one of the people kind of bamboozled by the New 52. It's like, all right, we're going physical media again. And it was just sometimes so bad. I was like, what is a delicious Pop-Tart? Well, G.I. Joe's going to be delicious. Well, Transformers going to be delicious. Well, and it just kept, my IDW selections kept growing because of the quality of G.I. Joe and Transformers. So then I was like, fuck yeah, I'll read their Ninja Turtles. Fuck yeah, I'll read their Ghostbusters. Fuck yeah, I'll read their Zorro.
Interesting.
They were my entry by way of the New 52 bumming me out. So it's like in
Sometimes
the darkness
it's what it
because
takes. Yeah.
because again, as much as I consistently have loved Image, I sometimes I'm rewarded for it. Like this era of Image is incredible. But when the New 52 was going on, Marvel wasn't particularly stellar. Image wasn't particularly stellar. And there was this company that was just producing, again, it's snack food. None of it was asking me to do a lot of heavy lifting. Yeah. There was a lot of Megatron yelling at Starscream, but it was fucking
Rightfully
awesome.
So.
It was awesome because ultimately what they were doing in that era was delivering consistent, fun, quality comics with IP that I enjoy but wasn't obsessed with. It wasn't like Ghostbusters where every panel I was like, oh, is this a reference to something? I don't know the G.I. Joe lore that well. Nerd. I don't know Beast War. Again, I'm like very new Pepsi everything. Because Beast Wars was the main Transformer I knew anything about.
Oh, that is
I was
so
like, they're
sad.
Cars. Dude, Beast Wars was fucking awesome, and you're insane.
Beast Wars
might
have been the worst thing that happened to television.
How dare you?
Oof, my goof.
How dare you?
I feel like they were watching the. They were using the NASA computers that launched shuttles into space, but like the original ones, like the first. What the hell? No, John. Beast Wars was not amazing. Beast Wars, I take it back.
Beast Wars was hot fire.
Was amazing in the sense that it made it past 3 episodes. And
how dare you,
showing up.
John the cat robot?
I will say this. I'll give them credit. I'll give them some little tiny bit of credit. When they transformed, they did look like the toys. I'll give them that. Because
also,
the current iteration
great wordplay.
Of Transformers, for a 6-year-old, you're like, oh, that's so clever.
Optimus Primal. Come on, that's good stuff. Very convenient name.
I take it back. They sucked. I hated it. The
worst. Oh, dude, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. How dare
it was
the
good.
chat
it was
is divided.
Good and terrible.
But yeah, for me, that era of G.I. Joes and Transformers, it's infinitely collectible to me. It's infinitely rereadable to me, and I'm really, really sad, even if it lands in Kirkman's hands.
No, if it lands in Kirkman's very capable hands, I'll be just fine. Because honestly, I don't like this. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I can see him potentially saying a similar thing, like, yeah, we're just gonna keep on running with this. Maybe throw a couple of curveballs, or if he says, you know what, maybe I'm gonna take this in a totally different direction. He's the type of creator that I'll say, all right, let me see what this flavor is gonna end up looking like, because again, the content is content that I like, so I would have no problem, honestly, with either version.
I think what was great about the IDW era of those franchises was they liked you back. There was no shame in picking up a Transformer book. Like, they knew what they were. My one fear with Kirkman is not everything's invincible. Sometimes those comics take themselves too seriously for certain IPs. But in Kirkman, I trust.
Well, but the thing about it also is because it didn't come from his brain, or it didn't originate with him, to a very large degree, creators like that, you're playing with house money. So even in a circumstance like ours, I'll sit there and I will be watching or reading or listening to a particular property, and I will have a pretty damn good idea. I'm like, hey, this would be neat for that. Because in the same token, I'm not as heavily invested as I would be for something that I birthed, just like slipped out of me in a warm tub and like made a complete mess. But I still loved it. And I gotta say, I really feel the same way about this episode. So Charlie, why don't you head us in the right direction and we'll wrap that shit up.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what your job is. If you haven't already done it, like, comment, subscribe. It helps the algorithm. It helps get us into more people's hands, but you directly can impact that handoff by telling a friend. Share it on your Facebook wall. Share the Twitch. I think that's how Twitch works. Share the YouTube video. Go to the others, comment on old ones. Tell us how good and what other fictional characters John is accidentally dressed up as. John is Disney bounding a movie right now, and he just looks too fly for the room. But, my dear brother, now that I got all of that stuff out of the way, there is only one way that we end not only this, but every single episode of US Comics, which is available free because we love you. So make sure you're subscribed to hear back to all the good stuff. But, John, how do we end the show?
It is so simple, Charlie. First and first, mostly, you got to turn the power on. You got to turn the volume up. You got to tune Bad Mary and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save me, Space Girl. We out.